And so
Okay.
basically, Mr. Martin Luther, not King,
Yeah, the other
no
one.
relation.
He put the note on the door.
Martin Luther with no king. He went to the door of the church and he said, don't.
Dunk.
He put his 90
Let
something
me
theses.
in.
He put his 90 something theses up there, being like, the church is shit. Her outfit was shit.
Mm-hmm.
Her selling her book to the judges was shit. She's shit about the Catholic Church. Manic
Pixie
Jump Scare. Hosted by Quinn Murphy
and Becca Hobart.
Hi.
We're Quinn. And we're
Becca.
And welcome to Manic Pixie Jump Scare, a podcast where Becca and I talk openly about our shared delusions,
Passions,
and love for each other. Becca.
Moving.
Wow. An anthem
Very
for the
powerful.
nation, even. Oh, wow. Well, here we
Yeah.
are again.
Mhm.
And so I have an exciting update for our true fans. If you'll remember, there was one episode where we talked about me losing articles of clothing and not knowing how that happened.
Yeah.
And so I returned to my childhood home today, which I am in the process of moving all my shit back into. Excuse the vulgarity, but moving, brings out something. But yeah. And one of the things I mentioned when I was like, oh, I just lose things, was my shirt I bought when I saw Cher perform live.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I find today upon entering into my room? But the shirt. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So she's back. And then I almost lost her again because I went through the things when I was like moving back in, and I was putting together a bag of things to donate. And I was like, I put aside the shirt because I was like, okay, I'm going to wear this to record tonight because I need to update the viewers, the listening audience. And then I was like, it's, Becca and I have our recording date. I'm looking around. I'm like, fuck, where's the shirt? And then I overturned the donation bag, and I, being a dumb idiot like I am, put it in the donation bag by accident. So
thank God you caught it.
Literally, that could have been horrific,
God.
actually.
Wow. I always wonder if I've done that before and haven't noticed. I don't know.
Maybe that's where some of my other shit went. I don't know.
Donated it. Crazy.
But yeah, so glad to still have this shirt. But Becca,
yeah,
what's going on with you?
Well, thanks for asking.
Mm-hmm.
I know that last time I talked about how I became an AMC Stubbs member.
Yes.
Sorry, an A-lister at AMC. And
get it right.
Get it right. The verbiage, it's important. But so I went and saw a movie alone for the first time. I don't think I've ever done that.
Really?
Yeah. It's just I had never, I don't know, had the opportunity, I guess. And so obviously now I'm probably going to see a bunch of movies alone. So I went to the theater in the middle of the day on my day off and saw Thor: Love and Thunder because I was like, sure, why not? Just me and a really old man in the theater. And I ate my Takis. He ate his popcorn. All was well. Not a problem.
Taki Fuego?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it's like, wow. Every once in a while when you do something alone for the first time, it's like, I get it. I get the human experience.
Yeah, doing things alone is like, because that's the whole conceit of the artist date, basically. And so I've been like habitually like taking myself out alone for like the past, at least once a week for like the past 10, 11 weeks now. And it is a very different experience, and it is a journey to kind of learn how to enjoy your own company.
Yeah. Wow.
And there are certain things about like going to actually go and like eat at like a sit down restaurant alone feels so weird to me.
Yeah.
like being like table for one.
Have you done it?
No, I haven't. I feel like I'm gonna do it soon when I'm on, my world tour.
Well, yeah.
When I'm on the run tour.
It's just like, what? Like, do you just stare into a booth?
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like I'll definitely need like a little like book or something.
A book, yeah, something to stimulate you a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
wow.
I like seeing movies alone. When I talked about seeing Marcel the Shell and Nope alone, I guess I haven't seen movies alone for that long. I don't remember seeing a movie alone before. There was this one time I got in like a big fight with like my entire family. My winter break of my first year of college, and I was like avoiding everybody in my house for like I just exiled myself in my room for a couple days.
Wow.
And I remember like I left the house to go see Little Women.
Aww.
Greta Gerwig's Little Women alone, and was like, yeah,
that's cute.
I saw West Side Story alone over last winter break, I believe.
I just realized I saw a movie alone, but it was at a film festival. Okay, and brag. It was like it was like kind of, I don't know, was it a movie or was it just like a project? It's hard to say. I cannot say.
You said it's early in the development.
It's not for me to tell, but it was there.
Was it ... Was it the movie you worked on?
No.
Oh, okay.
I have never seen that. The movie I worked on, I have never seen.
I've never seen her actually. Her.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Have you met Nicole Kidman yet?
In many ways, not physical yet.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about you. You always think of how to, because there are many ways to encounter Nicole.
Yeah. She's usually in the air. I can I can sense that.
I can tap into her.
I can tap into that for sure.
Oh my goodness.
She's so haunted. It's crazy. Anyway. So yeah, that's what's been up with me. What's been up with you lately?
Oh my God. I had an absolute whirlwind of a week. So I don't know if I talked about this on last episode or not, how I start every sentence on this podcast, but I moved out of my apartment in Pittsburgh. I'm no longer Pittsburgh resident, no longer a resident of the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow. Crazy.
Good luck in the elections, y'all. I'm rooting for y'all. Everybody register to vote. And yeah. So I had like the whole moving process last week, which was kind of in swing when we recorded our last episode. It was I was kind of like avoiding it because moving is such a hard thing to like start, because I feel like
to do,
I was trying to intellectualize it a little too much, being like, okay, what do I do first? And I was just like, okay. And then I ended up giving a piece of my furniture to one of my friends, like my dresser, which had all my clothes in it, obviously, or a good amount of them. And so then I was like, well, I guess I'm just moving now. And so then like the day I gave everything to her, I just started like fully in the process, because something about me, I've talked about this on the podcast before, when I start like a task, I don't like stopping until I finish it.
That's such a good trait to have.
In some ways, yeah. In some ways, definitely, yeah. But in other ways, like, it's definitely not, because I definitely like obsess over it.
Oh.
Like this podcast, I will like fall into a hole of like just doing shit for it for 5 hours, like just straight, and then I'll look up and be like, oh, because my mind will just be like, okay, I have to edit the episode, and then I want to do this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing, and this, and so it can become like this whole like. But it's good because it ultimately, I only really do it for things I'm like passionate about or things I like want to get done. So it's not like I do it for like everything, because again, Becca and I have discussed our all or nothing mentality. And so it usually means I'm passionate about something, but then it does bleed into getting like Like sometimes if I do things too close to bed, I have trouble sleeping because I can't take my mind off of like a goal.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have dreams where I'm still doing the thing and so I don't get rest. And so definitely
I forgot I had a dream you were in the other day. I'll tell it later in a sec. It was so strange.
I love hearing about what I do in people's dreams.
Yeah, I'll talk all about it in a
love
minute.
hearing about it. Okay. So yeah, and then my mother came into town to help me with the moving process. I was originally going to keep some of my furniture, but then my chair did not fit into the car.
No.
And so
the blue one.
Yeah, the blue one. And so
Oh.
yeah, my mom did offer to like get like because she does have a hitch on the back of her car, and so she offered to get like a little U-Haul like trolley thing, but I was just like, it's not all that gone. It was that point in the move where I'm like, I just need to get rid of literally everything in my life.
Yeah. I just need to burn this all on the spot.
And literally the person who's moving into my apartment, I sold her a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's good.
Already. And so she expressed interest in buying that stuff, and I just wanted to like keep it because I like wanted to keep a piece of my first apartment. But by that point I was done being sentimental, and I was like, okay, girl, give me this amount of money and it's yours. And she literally like shot back right away being like, I'll take it.
Wow. Okay, good.
Oh my God. The person moving into my apartment, if they ever listen to this, I left them like a fully furnished apartment. Not fully furnished, but
did you leave your bed?
No, they didn't want my bed. It was annoying because, oh my God. And then there's another thing about moving. I had my first experience with like trying to sell things on Facebook Marketplace.
Ooh.
So hard.
Yeah.
I thought I was girl bossing because I got multiple offers, but then it's like somebody reached out to me and they're like, oh, where can I pick this up? And then I gave them my address and they're like, oh, I actually can't transport it. Would you can you help me with that? And I'm like, well,
no, that's
what?
the thing. Like,
that's the whole thing. And then they're like, will it fit in Uber XL? And I'm like, how am I supposed to know that?
First of all, it's a bed.
In their defense, it was only a twin mattress, but still, I'm like, that's a tight fit, and like you need like a Yukon or something, like a Suburban.
Also, if I was an Uber driver and I pulled up and the person had a full bed, I would be like, so I'm not gonna take you.
Yeah, and then there was that whole thing, and so the bed was like a whole thing, and then somebody was gonna come pick up the bed, and then that fell through, and so I don't want to say what I did with the bed, but I'm sure you can all imagine. And
she's gone.
Yeah, that's another thing that moving really confronts me with, if we can call back to the problematic faves. I was challenged to confront my consumption in a very visceral way.
Yeah.
I was just finding shit in my apartment being like, what?
Yeah.
And then when you can't get rid of a full fucking mattress and like the box spring and you have to like put it out for the garbage. It's like, you feel bad. That's going to be on earth. Like, oh my God. Anytime I throw out anything, like anytime I use a single use plastic, I'm like, this will be on the earth longer than I will.
And God bless her.
And God bless her for that. And so yeah, and it is ultimately like more than is like my fault really, but also it's just like I'm just trying to be a little bit more, conscious. Not trying to completely relieve myself of the individual action and stuff. And so I don't know, environmentalists, this is my formal apology. I'm not happy with some of the things I did. But all we can do is learn and try to be better.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And I will try to do better because I am really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I filled my dad's Subaru like upwards of 5 times before the final move to get things out of my apartment. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm moving. And so I was just moving everything back in today because I returned to Hockessin, Delaware today, where my neighbor Chris Clemens is somewhere running around.
Oh yeah, I forgot he moved back.
Yeah, I don't know if he's in Hockessin, but he's definitely within.
He's definitely in Delaware.
He's within a 10-minute drive from my house. I know that much. Like,
really?
There's no way he is
because of the high school he went to.
Maybe 15. 15.
You better find him, and you better.
No, I'm like, bestie, where are you?
You need to beg him to
I'm
be on
like-
the podcast.
I'm like, no,
Beg
literally.
him
No,
to be
I
on
was
the
watching one of his
podcast.
videos the other day, and he was literally in the shopping center that I go to all the time. I'm like, oh my God.
Quinn. Yeah.
No, I was
Please.
like, there's one, I'm like watching his vlog because I'm like, that looks like every house I've ever been to in Delaware.
Wow.
But like, he's gonna, do his own little thing with it. And like, if I see a Tesla, not every Tesla I see, I'm gonna be like,
Chris. OMG.
and yeah, he was talking about like going to the DMV. Like, I was looking at all like the scenic shots in his videos, being like, where is that? Where is that?
Chris, where you at?
I literally grew up driving all those roads, and
that's
so
so funny. Oh my
Anyway,
God.
so-
I can't wait for him to be a guest.
And I'm like, he needs friends in Delaware, right? I could be that.
No, he would be such a good guest for our first high episode.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun.
He did sell I don't know if that was the ashtray, but on his website, he did sell a hat that said 302 on it, which is the area code of Delaware. And then I think he might have sold an ashtray as well, but anyway.
So cool.
So yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, so that's my neighbor. That's my new neighbor, I guess, that I haven't met yet, but gotta run into him.
Yeah.
And so then another thing that complicated the whole move was that I had a trip with my friends planned. So I moved out of my apartment. My mom came up, and then she took like half the stuff with her home. And then I had half the stuff in my car, which I left parked in my garage that I parked in Pittsburgh. Big target for stealing, by the way, which I didn't think about. And I was like, if anybody came in, there's like stuff in here they could steal. like
a lot.
Yeah, like a lot of clothing. I mean, like, the clothing is probably the most valuable stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't own anything like that expensive, but like, I mean, if you took all my clothing to like a Buffalo Exchange, you could make like $50. I don't know.
73 cents.
25 whole cents. And so yeah. So then anyway. But yeah, I'm moving out and I leave my stuff. And then we left. My friend Maddie, shout out to Maddie, listener of the pod, BT Dubs.
Shout out.
She has a lake house in the Finger Lakes of New York, which is about a 4 or 5 hour drive from Pittsburgh. And so I went on spring break with her and 3 other people. And so we all had like a little reunion trip to her lake house.
How cute.
It's on Lake Keuka, which I would only mispronounce. So I called it like Kuka or Kaweka.
Okay.
Which is the hole that a bird excretes its waste through.
Kaweka?
Yeah, Kaweka.
Did you know that already?
I did, yeah, and that's what I found funny about it.
Okay.
Reptiles also have it, I should say. Don't want to exclude that community on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
But
okay. That makes so much more sense.
And so yeah, but we drove up, very fun, me and 3 gay men in a car. So, listening to pop music, what could go wrong? And so we drove to Maddie's house. It's a beautiful little lake house. We literally beat her there. Fun fact.
Oh, nice.
But literally she pulled up like 2 seconds later. But it was really fun because none of us had like seen her in a month, and our other friend was over in Ireland studying abroad for like 2 months, and so it was nice. It was everybody kind of getting back together and stuff. And so
cute.
Yeah, we just kind of hung out at her house for the weekend. It's right on the lake. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But of course, it's me. So the trip had to have a little excitement, a little bit of a twist, something like that. And so it's the first night. We were there for about an hour, and then we went out on her boat onto the lake, swam around, swimming in a lake adjacent to swimming in the ocean, which...
Was it a tender?
Yes, kind of. Okay. Yeah, like a small boat. Yeah, definitely a small boat. But like it could hold 12 people, but there were only 5 of us.
Okay,
but
fair.
Yeah, so we were out on the boat. It was lovely. It was a lake. So I was a little nervous about the lake because I'm not a huge fan of lakes because of the bottom of them.
Scary, right?
Yeah, because not even scary, but I don't like the texture.
Was
like
it,
when
is it like too mushy?
Yes, yeah, it's mushy and muddy, and I don't like that, which we'll return to in a second. But where like the ocean is nice and smooth and sandy and all that kind of stuff, so I think the ocean is a lovelier experience. Yeah. But we were swimming, like when we would go out into like the middle of the lake, the water depth was like 100 feet or something, which scary in and of itself.
So many feet.
Yeah, so many feet, but also don't have to touch the ground. So
yeah, true.
Win for me.
Paddle.
And it was also a test of my swimming skills because I'm not like I know how to swim, obviously, but I'm not like, a swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay.
Would you be able to pass the 3-minute wading test?
What is that?
Not wading, what's it called? It's like usually, at least in Pennsylvania, if you are, I don't know, a smaller kid and you want to go down like a slide at a pool, they make you tread water for like 3 minutes.
Oh, like just sit in the water?
Tread
Did you go
water.
anywhere?
No, you just like the tread. Yeah, where you do this with your
1,000% I could do that.
Bicycle with your feet. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000% I could do that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I was like sore every day because we would go out and we would swim for like hours, and then we'd be like, we also had to you had to hoist yourself back up on the boat, and so anyway.
Oh, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, so we swim the first day, and then we come back, we shower, do all of it, and then we had dinner, and then after dinner, the sun had set, and Maddie's like, "Oh, does anybody want to go fishing?" We were all like, "Yeah, that'd be really fun. You can just fish off, she has a little pier you can fish off of." And so, I was just sitting because there were only 2 poles, and so I had to wait my turn to fish. And so we're out on the lake, and then it's my turn to fish, and so I have my line in. And my father is a big recreational fisher, and so I was like, "This is in my blood."
Yeah,
but I haven't been fishing in a long time, and I forgot how much patience it requires.
It's so boring, I think.
Yeah, unless the fish are biting, and my friend Ian did catch a fish pretty quickly, but I did not have the same luck. And so I was just kind of bored. And so I was looking at my phone and I'm like, and then I take a picture of the fishing pole. And then a gigantic, fish, kind of mongrel looking thing jumps out of the water and takes my phone out of my hand.
You're lying.
And takes it to the depths of Lake Quaca. No, it was some kind of supernatural force that came
You're
by.
Lying.
No, I'm not at all. It was some kind of supernatural force that jumped. Did you play Club Penguin as a kid? When you would when you were playing the fishing game, and then that big fish would come by? That's what it was
Bite you?
Yeah. It jumped out of the water and knocked my phone out of my hand.
I'm so confused. Okay, were you sitting at were you sitting? Okay, that makes sense. I pictured you fully standing at the end of the pier and a fish jumping that. No, but still, it's absolutely stupid that happened.
Yeah, well, it actually didn't happen. I did lie to you for just a second.
I hate you. I knew.
No, because I was like, oh my god, I wanna create a lie, but then I started the story and forgot I wanted to lie. Anyway,
I've been pranked twice today, and I'm starting to.
So I did do a little prank for Becca, but
okay.
So anyway, I say that because the real story is much less interesting. I literally took a picture of the fishing pole, and then I was like, I remember thinking while I was there too. I was like, I shouldn't be holding my phone just over the water. That's not a good idea. And then I didn't have that thought in that moment, but then I just literally dropped my phone, and then I was like, oh.
And you're definitely right. Yep.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And so by that point, it's dark. And so can't really do anything about it. And so we were like, okay. And then Maddie said her mom had done the same thing, and they pulled the phone out in the morning and it was fine. And I was like,
unfortunately, I do think you were pranked.
I was like, I feel like that's a little bit of an urban legend, but
yeah.
but also iPhones are water resistant to like a certain depth, and it was only about like the depth was only about 6 feet.
All right.
And so I don't know, and so I was like, okay, whatever. And so then the next morning, Ian claims to have seen it in the water. But and so then I went on like a little swim for it, and I tried to recover it, and I had to touch the bottom of the lake because I couldn't see it. I had my goggles on and I was like, but then I couldn't see it. And so then I was like feeling around for it with my feet. And then, yeah, so the phone's gone.
Yeah.
Phone's gone. So I haven't had a phone for, it was Friday. Today is Tuesday. So
I did tease this on the Instagram.
You did? I've not checked Instagram.
Probably didn't see because you don't have a phone.
Yeah.
And for that, I am sorry.
I'm off the grid.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So now I have to procure a new phone, which we're actually, I think, in a weird turn of events, I think the phone might be insured, which is crazy because it's, I bought it, like, I've had it for 2 years.
Wow.
And so it might be insured. So we're like making a claim about it. And I might get a phone at like a much cheaper price than like actually just buying a phone because I thought I was gonna have to drop.
Good.
Especially iPhones are like expensive nowadays.
Yeah. And did you have the water policy, the extra insurance? Okay. There's like the extra like there's the regular insurance and then they have like the water insurance. That gives you like, and they pay for your next 2 phones if you drop it in water. And I am lying to you.
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't sound.
If you drop your phone in water, they give you money.
Yeah, they pay
they pay you.
And so yeah, but it was nice. It was nice having a little unplugged weekend.
That's nice.
It reminded me, I had my laptop, so I wasn't like completely cut off from human society, but like, yeah, it's obviously not the same thing as having like a phone because I'm not going to take, like, my laptop can't work in like the middle of the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Do you know why that lakes often are more haunted than oceans or seas? Did you experience anything like, I don't know, haunted? You know how there's always like a lady of the lake.
Well, other than the supernatural force taking my phone.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, other than that.
No, I didn't experience, because like we were like a setup of like a horror movie at the lake. And you're right about that because where do horror movies, like slasher flicks, always take place? At a camp with a lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never at like the camp ocean. On the beach. Yeah.
Yeah. There aren't camps on the beach, though.
So I just had to bring this question up.
Yeah, and so we made that joke at least once, being like, "Oh my god, this is like a setup for like a horror movie, like friends coming, joining together. Oh my god, guys!" And then one loses their phone. You know, hilarity ensues. All of it.
Except, was there any straight people there?
No. So
you would have all been killed off at the same time then.
They had to get rid of all of us.
That's for the rules.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's too bad. It's really too bad.
But yeah, so anyway, but it was also kind of nice because it's obviously annoying in the moment. But it's like you zoom out for a second and you're like, okay, how big of a deal actually is this? Because it's like, it was like a 2-year-old phone. Like it's like an iPhone, so they make them like work poorly after a little while. They make them to break. And so my phone had definitely started that process. And so I was like, not the worst thing ever. And then like, you know, I'm luckily in a place financially where it's like it's an inconvenience, but not like anything crazy.
Detrimental. That's good.
Detrimental or anything like that. And so it was a little bit like, well, why freak out about it? It was something I could like have anxiety over and like be upset with myself over and stuff like that. And I definitely had that moment, but then I was like, I continue to have those moments and stuff. But then I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things.
That's very healthy of you.
Yeah. And so it I think it's important sometimes to reflect on, like, an older version of myself would have been like so undone by that, and like it could have had the potential to like ruin the whole weekend for me, and the weekend just ended up being like one of the funnest weekends of like the summer or of all time even. And so like, like it was just a thing that happened, and I literally made a joke about it like an hour later. I was like, guys, I felt like the weekend getting a little boring already, and so I had to do something to spice it up.
I just had to do that.
I was like, how do I make Lake Weekend about me? Kerplop. So easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did it well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Lake Weekend ended up being really fun. Maybe I'll share more of the details of it as the episode progresses. But Bika, anything else to report?
Just that I guess Super Freaky Girl she's done it again. She's done it again.
Yeah.
She's twisted, she's sick, she's everything I want to be. Super freak.
We had a sleepover, me and the three aforementioned gay men. We had a sleepover the night before we went to the lake, and we literally got up at 6:45 to go to the lake, like in the morning, on a Friday morning, and like we listened to like Super Freaky Girl at like 6:30, and it was like such an interesting experience.
Yeah.
And we interestingly did not listen to it like that much at the actual lake. And so
crazy.
Yeah. So I'm still getting to know her. I did get really into just Super Freak by Rick James because it was on the last season of Drag Race as a lip sync song.
Nice.
And so yeah.
So it was good.
And it's funny because I was like, there are no new songs. Everybody's just sampling things. And then like I was like clamoring for this song, being like, I need to hear this song. I need to hear this song. Her. And same with like Renaissance. Like I'm like, everything's just like a sample. Like, and it's like so many sampled songs on Renaissance and stuff. And so
yeah, it's how it is. It's how it is.
It's just where we are right now. And instead of being like,
that's okay.
What if I just
went
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We want to like things. We want to like things.
Yes, we're trying so hard, guys.
Yeah.
And this I do like. So
go
listen to Super Freaky Girl for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I believe Becca and I are adequately caught up.
Yes.
So we're going to throw to a little break and we'll be right back. Guys, I'm scared.
Guys.
Oh my god, my phone. It took my phone.
Don't ever do that again. Okay. So our topic this week is something really light and something that no one has ever thought about ever.
No.
And that's spirituality. Ooh. So obviously we talked about astrology before. So this is just like broadening that topic a little bit, getting me and Quinn's headspace and our history guess, you could say, about the topic. So I know you, Quinn, went to a school that involved, some stuff, but where I would like you to pinpoint like your maybe family upbringing or like your first encounter, I guess, with like the idea of spirituality.
Yes. So something I feel like I was going to address in the A block, but didn't, is that I am in my basement in my childhood home, which is like aggressively Irish.
Yeah.
My father has decorated it. So there's a Slánja sign hanging above my head, which is like an Irish, like Gaelic form of like cheers and stuff. There is a cross behind me as well as a YouTube poster right here.
Wow.
My mom still has that YouTube album that went on everybody's iPhone, like on her phone, and it like when she like connects to the car. It's so funny. Anyway, some of the viewing audience wasn't even born when that happened, maybe. Anyway, but thank you so much for asking, Becca. My first encounter with spirituality was actually probably going to church as a child because I was raised Catholic. My family's Catholic. My mom's side of the family is. My father was raised Presbyterian, and he converted to Catholicism for my mother when they got married, because religion wasn't super important to his family, but it was definitely more important to like my mom's mother, especially after my mom's father died when she was 14, and after that my grandmother became like very involved. Her like faith was a big way that helped her with like the grief of like her husband's passing and stuff like that. And so religion was very important to my grandmother. She was definitely like, I feel like it was I remember my brother and me, like, I don't want to say, I guess I'll just be truthful, but like we didn't like her as much as our other grandmother when we were younger, because it felt like she was like the strict one, because she was like a little religiously pious. But I think she definitely started to like, I don't know if it's just because we got older and like we weren't as like rambunctious or whatever, but she definitely started to like mellow out a little bit more, and I definitely got closer to her before she unfortunately passed away, to the point where I like enjoyed spending time with her before, you know, she passed away and stuff like that. But yeah, so we actually grew up. The first house I ever lived in was right across from a church here in Delaware called St. Anne's. It's like the Irish Catholic church in Wilmington. There's like Irish Catholic and Italian Catholic in Wilmington. So St. Anne's is like the Irish Catholic church. And so that's where my grandmother went. That's where like all my cousins went and stuff like that. And so my brother actually attended grade school there from K to 3.
Okay.
And so I wasn't in school at that time. And so I would always like, my mom would like literally walk him just like across the street to go to school. I would like look out the window with them while I like ate my breakfast. And so my mom did leave me like alone in the house.
Eating also.
I was like 4.
Such a big choking hazard.
I remember I would be eating like my Cheerios or like Fruit Loops or something. We had like those TV tables.
And she's like, bye.
She's like, I'm gonna go drop Liam off real quick. And I was like, purr.
I'll make my coffee.
I had not started drinking coffee yet.
Okay.
But yeah. And so yeah, but we did go to church like on Sundays for a while as well, because like that was like proximate. I have to tell you, I hated it.
Yeah.
I had an immediate reaction. I hated it because
boring, right?
Yes, boring. It was so boring to me at the time. I was like, there's nothing for me to connect to in this. I want to go home and watch Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And I would always be like, Mom, how long is church? And she's like, an hour. And I'm like,
so you lied. Also, it's longer.
I don't remember how long they actually were.
They felt hours.
I think it's just being young. Like everything feels long when you're young because you haven't lived as much.
That's true.
And so time like
you don't have enough.
I think about this a lot.
To think.
Literally, I think about this a lot, and like it's like how time feels like it goes by faster as you get older, but it's like it literally does in a sense, because relative to the amount of time you've lived, like a year is like when I was 5. A year felt like a long time because that's like 20% of my life.
Yeah.
And now a year doesn't feel like, I mean, it feels like long and short in different parts, but it's 5% of my life. Like 1 year is 5% of like the life I've lived, even less than that now. And so obviously time is going to feel longer. An hour is going to feel longer to me as a 5-year-old sitting in a church than it is as a 21-year-old sitting in a church. And so anyway, but yeah, I hated it. I hated going. And so I just didn't. Like much to my mom's chagrin a little bit, because she tried to get me to do, I was baptized obviously when I was like young. I don't remember that.
You were. Okay.
And my brother did his first Holy Communion and all that stuff. And there's an amazing picture of my family from my brother's first Holy Communion. My father, my mother, and my brother are all sitting very nicely out on the front steps of our house that we lived in across from the church. And I'm sitting with them and they're all smiling and I am crying. I'm visibly upset in the photo. Like I couldn't even get it together for the photo.
You knew.
And they just printed it out. My mom was like, okay. Like it's just a picture in my house of me crying outside. So yeah. So that was kind of my attitude. I didn't get, my mom tried so hard to get me to go to CCD or whatever, the thing that you have, like the classes you have to take to get your first Holy Communion. I said, so I'm not interested in that in any way.
Yeah.
And something about me is I've truly never done anything I don't want to do.
Good.
Like I am somebody who, like, if I don't want to do something, I will find so many ways out of it.
Is that the one? Okay. Is that class like what you take when you're like 13 or whatever?
No, that's more confirmation.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Which is the next sacrament.
Gotcha.
I don't know why I put air quotes around sacrament. It's not like a made up thing. They're just considered sacraments.
It's a level up. Sure.
Yeah, it's the level up. It's the Pokemon evolution.
Okay, cool.
And so yeah, confirmation is like the next step up. Neither me nor my brother did that. My cousins did. It was also very interesting because my mom, I didn't know this at the time, obviously, but my mom was having her own kind of struggles with the Catholic Church because right around that time is like peak sex scandal, like right as all that stuff is breaking.
Yeah.
And so she very much kind of like and as somebody who was like a new mother to two like young boys, like she was like obviously
so
and she has as a kid who grew up going to Catholic school, she has stories. Like that stuff was going on for a very long time, and like she felt the impacts of it. She knew a lot of people who were like affected by it, you know, in various ways and stuff. And so she had her own kind of like struggles. And so obviously like when we moved out into like the suburb we live in now, we got like kind of very disconnected from that whole thing. And so yeah, we would like pray at holidays and stuff, but it was mostly kind of like, it was very, I relate to when people say like I was culturally like when Jewish people say like I'm culturally Jewish but not like practicing, even though there's obviously like different contexts, different histories, that kind of thing. I felt like a similar kind of vibe with my upbringing. Like we were culturally Catholic, but we weren't like going to church every Sunday.
Gotcha.
And so yeah, but Becca, I actually know literally nothing about your religious upbringing, and so I'm very interested.
Okay, so it is sort of interesting, I guess, because so my dad, his whole family is Catholic. He was raised Catholic, and he is very agnostic, sort of atheist now. Never seen him. He's just one of those people who's like, if I haven't seen it, if I can't prove it myself, I'm never gonna listen to anyone else about it. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Okay,
so
yeah.
That's how he feels. And then my mom is agnostic, but was raised Christian, but she went to, her parents were really religious. And she went to a private Catholic school for a couple years and then was like, okay, I hate this so much, and then begged her mom to let her leave, and then she went to public school. So she had been kind of like agnostic since then, and she always says, my mother is such a character. When people ask her like if she's religious, she talks about she does this to prove a point, but she says she believes in Mr. Bananas because to her, she's like, she believes in something, but she doesn't want to call it like God or like assign it any power or whatever. But it's just like the universe, basically.
Yeah.
Like that's what she believes in. But she's like, you can call it whatever you want. I call it Mr. Bananas. So go off, I guess. Mr. B.
She said that's what you give power to in your life.
Yeah. And bananas? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very minion of her. Anyway. Banana. Okay. But so yeah. So I never was baptized. I never was like forced to go to church except for when my grandfather on my mom's side passed and my grandma then like needed someone to go to church with, and so I would come I would go to church with her and my mom after my soccer practices, and multiple times people complained about my smell because I was like 10, didn't really wear deodorant yet, and like was a stinky kid from soccer. So I did have to start sitting in the back. It was really boring. It was so boring because I didn't go to like the kids part or whatever.
And is this Protestant? It's not a Catholic mass because it's on your family's. No, it's on your mom's side, right? Yeah. Okay.
No, it's not Catholic. Yeah, I want to say, yeah. And so, it was in an office building, this church was, and I guess people were nice, but like, it just wasn't doing it for me.
I feel like you've told me about this maybe, because that rings a bell.
Yeah, I just found it so weird because it's always like a church is supposed to be a church. I thought that's the whole point.
Well, that's the whole thing with like I recently explained to my friend who's Jewish the whole Protestant Reformation. Like I explained the whole Protestant Reformation to her basically.
I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah, so anyway, so basically Christianity used to be like this whole one thing that was like the Catholic Church for like about 1,000 years. Like it was one church.
Yeah.
And like Christianity and Catholicism were one and the same. But then the Catholics started doing some crazy stuff. The upper echelons of the church, like it became very money involved because obviously one of the things about Catholicism that we'll get into as we progress throughout the podcast, the aesthetics.
Yeah.
Something that cannot be ignored. It's something they snapped on, but it also costs a lot of money. And when you're an organization being like, we want to feed the hungry, do all this stuff, and you're building like all these like gold-plated statues, it's like, okay, well, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
And so basically, Mr. Martin Luther, not King.
Yeah, the other
no relation.
He put the note on the door.
Martin Luther with no king. He went to the door of the church and he said, "Don't." He put his 90-something theses. He put his 90-something theses up there, being like, the church is shit. Her outfit was shit. Her selling her book to the judges was shit. She's shit about the Catholic Church.
She did not perform.
And then everybody was like, okay, I guess we're just gonna do our own thing now. And so now there's Christianity, and under Christianity you have like Protestants and Catholics. And then Catholics are basically still all kind of like one thing. And then Protestants are, well, I guess it's not all one thing, but like they're all like, I guess all of Christianity is the same faith, but like Catholic is like its own thing. And then Protestant is much more diverse, I would say.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so like Protestant is Methodists, Baptists, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Jehovah's Witness.
That's what my grandma is.
Yeah, that's what my dad's family was too. But
gotcha.
Like they weren't super involved in stuff. And so so that's where you get all of
the different branches.
That's a quick and dirty version of the Protestant Reformation.
Gotcha.
And also a bunch of people died.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
So yeah, we spent like a long time on that in like my AP World History class. Like I felt like that was half my AP World History class.
I really blocked off what happened in AP World. So
and I can't blame you for that.
That's on me. Yeah. But yeah, so I sort of believed in like God or whatever. I wouldn't really have called myself a Christian even when I was younger. Just because like we didn't do anything other than I went to church a few times for my grandma.
Yeah.
And then I remember when all my friends were getting confirmed and my best friend at the time was like, "You're not going to get confirmed." And I was like, "I don't really go to church, so I don't even get what the value of being confirmed is." And then she told me it's so that you can, when you're older, if you ever want to go to a church, you can like tell them you're confirmed. And I was like, shouldn't the whole point be if I want to go to church at any time, I should be able to go to a church?
Yeah.
And she was like, no. And I was like, okay.
She said,
I'm definitely right about my opinions right now because I don't really want to do that then. So yeah.
You're like, so I've been affirmed actually.
It's crazy.
That's so interesting. Yeah. So what was like I'm interested by the fact that you like had a belief in a higher power, it sounds like, but you had no like You never had anybody tell you like what that was or give you like a certain view of what that was, especially when you're formative and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so like, what was your kind of like, what was your vision of that higher power at like that, at like through, I guess, that developmental stage? At like, what was your vision of it? What power did you think it had?
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I think I did call it God, but I always said like I don't think it's like a guy in the sky with like a beard and a cane. You know, like I think that whatever is a higher power is just like, I was low key down with some of those American settlers who they were like, so we think God made us, and then he was like, "Whoa, hands off, let them do what they do." I was kind of like, oh, that could definitely be the case. Like we have a creator, and then he just is like, or they or it is just, I don't know, somewhere.
She is.
She
slash it.
But yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I just like, I also will admit that I used to like be like everything happens for a reason, whatever. I still kind of believe that in some ways, but also definitely believing that comes from being very privileged in my life, and nothing super really bad has ever happened to me. I like have always had all my needs and wants from Maslow's pyramid. Always
Come
had
on,
those.
Maslow.
Yeah,
James Maslow, Big Time Rush. Yeah.
Yeah, and
he created the hierarchy of needs. A lot of people don't know that.
Thank you, James. Do they actually have the same name, or did I confuse them?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
No, the person who I don't know who made Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but
yeah, awesome.
And then James Maslow is famously
in Big Time
Rush, and was also on Celebrity Big Brother US.
Yes, of course. But yeah, so definitely like being a privileged person led me to believe like, oh, there must be a reason why like I am so lucky or something.
I
don't know though.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I'll flip the question back to you though. Like what also like did you, I know that you were kind of like, I guess, iffy then at church, but what did you believe in anything, or like what was your deal?
I definitely believed in a higher power. I don't know how much of that was actually guided by I don't know how much of that was actually guided by like my belief, or how much of it was actually guided by like what I was told.
Yeah.
Because both my parents, despite not being super religious, like definitely do believe in like a higher power. That they describe as like God and Jesus and all that kind of stuff. And so I definitely believed in a higher power and had kind of different flirtations with faith and stuff. I've always been a very faithful person. I've always wanted to believe in things.
Yeah.
But as I said in the astrology episode, I believe this comes from my Libra moon, or the Libra moon is how I explain it. But I feel, and also my Gemini rising, I feel like I have two sides of myself. I have that side that wants to believe, and that is like has my head in the clouds a little bit, and like has that whole idealistic as well. And then I have a much more kind of pragmatic, logical kind of side that is like, okay, well, very much like your dad. Like if there was something, wouldn't we know about it, or wouldn't I be able to see it in some way? And so I like, it's always been those two competing forces within me. And so yeah, I did also feel kind of disconnected from it, because like I don't like saying like I knew I was queer or anything like that, because I like didn't know all my life, and I feel like it's kind of disingenuous when people are like, I always know. But anyway, but I didn't have a it was always a turn off to me, like how, because that was something I always knew about like the church and stuff, that like, oh, gays were not, the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And it was also, this is something I meant to bring up in the formative media episode, but something that was very big that like in the way I look at the world was actually my media consumption when like specifically YouTube. Like, and I was it's interesting because I've been seeing all this stuff about like Andrew Tate or whatever that man's name is. And I was kind of just like whatever about it for a couple weeks, and I'm like, I don't really like it just feels like another thing. But then I did see a TikTok today of like a teacher being like, oh, there's like this 11-year-old in my class telling a girl she's like fat and that she's worthless and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, I love Andrew Tate. And I was like, okay, so maybe I do need to like understand.
This is bad.
And now I'm reflecting and being like, okay, well, so much of like who I am as like my political beliefs now and stuff were really formed when I was like a tween, like on YouTube, like watching people like Tyler Oakley, watching people like some other people, because like that's how I started to understand like trans issues and activism and all this kind of stuff, that like the internet was a way for me to connect with that in a way that I wasn't getting in a middle class white family. And especially not through like our public school system. And so the internet did give me an opportunity to connect in that way. And so it like the big reason I am who I am today and I have the political beliefs I do is because of like I went down that road instead of like the weird alt-right like
chronically online road. In a good way.
Like incel. Chronically online in a cool way, not a bad way. And so like I did think and so that also kind of gets into like, because I think it is like a spiritual this is a spiritual thing for me as well. I have this like innate belief that also kind of connects to what you were saying, that like everybody is equal and that like people aren't like it doesn't matter like where people are born, and it's like luck how we're all born, right? Like I was born into my life completely by luck. I could have literally been born into any other life and had different material conditions, had different different family structure, all that kind of stuff. But I was just born into my family structure, and it's an incredibly privileged structure that I exist in. And I didn't do anything prior to this that made me deserve that in a way that somebody else didn't. And so that's like fucked up, basically, because I didn't do anything to deserve this life I live. I just kind of live it. In the same way that somebody who's, homeless, unhoused, whatever, on the street didn't choose, to live whatever life led them to that circumstance in a certain way, or whatever starting off point they had that led them to that circumstance and stuff like that. And so I've always been, that's like equality, equity has always been kind of like my North Star and like my political beliefs, and trying to make sure that everybody has the same chance to kind of attain what they ultimately want out of life as everybody else. And so I think that guided my spirituality in a way, because I was looking for something that had that same belief. And so I was repelled a little bit by, as I started to understand that the faith that my family kind of introduced to me wasn't consistent with what I believed.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of resistance to it at first, I would say. But I guess I always believed in a higher power. And I always believed that like that higher power should be working to make everything equal. And so that's kind of where I believe I want to define things for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
So,
interesting.
And then things kind of like started to change when I went to high school. As I talked about in the high school episode, I was definitely a little trepidatious. And I remember it specifically being about the religion thing. Like I just didn't want like religion kind of like spoon fed to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody has that conception of religious education, and that is certainly some religious education, and I don't think that's correct. But like, of all the things, like I have so many criticisms of my high school experience, of the high school I went to, yada, yada, yada. But one of the things I really enjoy is the way that they actually presented religion to us, because a lot of different people of like different faiths and stuff went to our school, but and we all had to take religion classes and stuff, but it was never like you have to believe this.
Yeah,
it was just,
that's good.
This is a Catholic school, we're going to teach you about Catholic spirituality, and you have to learn about that and stuff. You don't have to accept it, you don't have to agree with it, you don't have to like do anything. And luckily I always had good, because there were some religion teachers that were not that way. But luckily I always had like the good religion teachers. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah, I felt super supported. And my first religion class, I talked about a little bit in the high school episode. It's called Catholic and Salesian Identity. It was by Mr. Johnson, who is still one of my spiritual life gurus. Hope he's okay wherever he is. But he was really important to me because he gave me a model of like how you could like be a like spiritual person and be like a good person, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because I feel like with so much of like growing up in the light of like the sex scandal in the Catholic Church and like Westboro Baptist Church of it all, and like all this like stuff is like, and I don't mean to say this because it is ultimately like the most powerful like religious entity in the world, but like some Christians, like the good Christians, get like a bad rap a little bit from all the people like dragging it down, basically.
Yeah.
Or I will say like Christians who kind of like live out what my interpretation of like the gospel is and stuff. And so yeah, so Mr. Johnson was kind of the first person not the first person I met, because obviously there was like my grandmother and stuff, but he was like the first person I met outside of my family unit who I truly believed was like invested in the like teachings of Christianity and used them as a force for good to like teach kids and like teach them how to be like good to each other and good to people. Because like I picked up so much from that class about like how I operate and stuff, and like something I know I learned in that classroom was like give without expecting anything in return. Like so like I don't know, it's just something I like do now. Like when I feel like it's something that was like drilled into me to be like, okay, if you give something, you shouldn't like expect like, because he very much believed that. He would also bring up this wasn't until when I took a class with him senior year, but he said he would always be like, oh, people always want to say everything happens for a reason. That's looking at God in a very transactional way. It's saying, oh, if I do this thing, then I'll get this thing. Same way as like, oh, if I buy this person lunch, they'll buy me this thing, or they'll do this thing. And it's like, you can't have those expectations of people, and you shouldn't have that expectation of people. You should just do good things because they're good things and you want to help other people, as opposed to doing a good thing because what can it get me?
Yeah.
And that's still very much something I try to like
that's a good lesson
have sight of in my life. Yeah. Cause it's like, and that's something that informs my belief, because I always also say like, you can't rely on other people ultimately, like in like in a not trusting way. You can't
rely on other
people, but just in like, I say it a lot with like self-affirmation. And so I used to place a lot of like my self-value in being like, oh, well, I can't be like garbage because like this person loves me or this person loves me. And it's like, that is a way to look at it, but I ultimately don't believe it's going to be a satisfying way to look at it, because what if that person is like mad at you? Or what if that person is having a bad day and they're not as like excited to see you, and then you're internalizing that and feeling a way about yourself because of that. And so again, it's that give without expecting a return kind of ideal, just in a very different form. And so, yeah, but yeah, that class kind of opened my mind up to having religion and spirituality in my life. And I started to develop more of like a spiritual sense. And I think, I don't know who said this, or if I came up with it myself, but I always say like Catholicism is kind of like the verbiage I had for spirituality in high school. And so it was nice because through my religious education, I learned the words that like Catholics had for the things that I believed. And so that became kind of like my vocabulary and stuff. But I'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's not something that's like super, stuck. And I think it's ultimately still like a journey I'm going on and will continue to go on. But I became super involved. I won the silver medal in religious studies when I graduated.
Whoa.
So I was the second best religion student in my class.
Wow.
And I went on our school's religious retreat. And then I led it my senior year. And so, yeah, which I didn't get to talk about in the high school episode, but my God, crazy stuff.
Wow. Leading retreat. That's like a horror movie for sure.
I was literally the person who was in charge of, I forget what my title was, but I was like the master of like, well, not the master, but we called like the leader, like the MC, like master of ceremonies. Obviously, that was my friend Tony. And I was like the person who was in charge of spirituality. And so one of my jobs was every day I led like a guided meditation for everybody.
Ooh.
It was like 10 minutes and everybody loved it. It was like one of the highlights of the retreat.
Wow.
Like the retreatants were coming up to me and they were like, Quinn, when do we get to meditate today? And I was like, guys.
The real lesson is you can meditate 24/7.
Literally. Yeah. And that was another thing, because this weekend kind of reminded me of that, because we didn't have our phones on that trip. They took our phones. There were no clocks. Well, when I led, there were clocks because it was frustrating. But like the first one I went on, there were no clocks. And I also had my phone as a leader. But like the first one I went on, no clocks, no way to know the time. And
oh my God, that's crazy.
Yes, it's truly a crazy and liberating experience to live and not know what time it is.
I've never experienced that, I guess.
It's like a crazy experience. It's so nice too, because obviously it's something you can do like when you're on vacation and stuff like that. But like it was a religious retreat. It was nice because the school was super understanding about it. And so like if you went on, it was called Encounter. And so if you went on Encounter, like your teachers had a list, you understood, you literally missed a day of school. Like it would be you'd go on Thursday night and it would last until Sunday morning. And so you missed a day of school, you had like an excused absence, basically. Your teachers would be very lenient because the school was like very into facilitating this experience for us. And so, yeah, it was really nice because it's called Kairos. It's a Greek word and it like loosely translates to God's time. And it's that like you don't have, you don't have like a sense of time for yourself. You're just on like, whatever time.
God's time. Wow.
Yeah, God's time, baby.
That's crazy.
And also something that was also kind of got me involved was we had school masses, obviously. And so we had those about once a month. And like you said, Becca, it's kind of boring just sitting in the stands. I did go but I grew to appreciate Catholic masses because I was like, there's music involved. Music is a big part of like,
oh, right.
Yeah, Catholic celebration and stuff like that. And so I signed up for the music ministry, which is the people who like sang at mass. And so then I like started doing that. I eventually became like my senior year, I was like the lead cantor. And so I would stand up in front of like the whole student body and sing every mass. And so that did also get me very involved. And so, yeah, I feel like I had high school allowed me to have like a more complex spiritual life.
So do you identify as just like a spiritual person?
Now I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I think then I would have more identified as like a Catholic, but it's very interesting because just some of the things, there were some things I definitely agreed with, but then there were some ways in which like Catholicism expressed it that I didn't super agree with. Like when people are like, oh, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, he's the most important, because like they're like one of the things that was always said to me is that like God comes first in your life.
Yeah.
Like God is the first thing in your life before your friends, before your family, before anything. And that was like, I was like, okay. And it's like, it's also interesting because it's like, you can experience God, like God, the belief is that God is present in everybody. And so in that way, God is kind of like in everything. And so there was that dimension to it, but still I was like, I never said like I
not
like
buying
it's
it.
still kind of weird that like Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, all that kind of stuff.
And I've never even met the guy.
I've never even met him. He sounds cool. I would love to. And also
Sure.
just, you know, the Catholic Church as a political entity, obviously has its problematics and stuff. Not even, you know, with the sex scandal, obviously, but you know, things again, it's that equality thing. So it's like if you say that, you know, queer people can't get married, and if you say that queer people can't adopt kids, and if you say that people with ovaries and, you know, women, other people with ovaries and reproductive systems can't have the ultimate say over what's going on in their body, I can't ride with you like that, if that makes sense.
To me, it's bad.
Yeah, to me that's bad. And those are big things. It's like, because it gets to that thing where it's like, okay, well, you don't have to identify with everything, but it's like, those are big things.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it and then just the whole organized kind of religion thing in general.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, but yeah, so that was kind of my religious journey in that kind of area of my life. So did you have any like big spiritual moments kind of like in a similar way, anything that like exposed you to spirituality beyond like your family life or anything like that?
I think that I started, I don't know, I think like much like you being so online, I was able to be exposed to like more different stuff. Also, I used to be so jealous. I have Jewish cousins. I was so jealous of them. I was so jealous of all my Jewish friends that I wanted I wanted to go to their camp so bad because like they would all like hook
Jewish
up with
camp
each other.
did seem like a thing
So
like you're
fun.
missing out on. Like I had so much FOMO about Jewish camp.
Me too. And like literally I'm not Jewish, but I did join the Jewish Culture Club's photos. I did crash their photo. Yeah. And then one time I stole one of their bagels that they had in the mornings.
Oh wow.
That was good too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So but I was like not into like, I don't know. You have to like go through so much to like become Jewish if you're not born into it. But also, okay, I forgot to mention that my great grandfather was Quaker, actually. Very Pennsylvania of him, but he was actually Canadian. English, sorry. And then he moved to Canada. But he wrote a book called Quaker by Convincement because he, I guess, was convinced to be a Quaker. And the Quakers, they kind of have something like.
No, the Quakers are cool.
Yeah, they're very
I haven't
chill.
done like enough research to like fully say that with like my whole chest, but everything I've heard about the Quakers, I'm like, it's organized religion, so it's like I feel like I have such a view where I'm like, it can't not be not problematic.
Right, in some way. I'm sure they are.
It can't be unproblematic, but
yeah.
Then are we not all problematic? Going back to problematic faves again. Literally. And then also, you know, but yeah, but we also there was a Quaker school that's very close to where I went to high school. It's like right up the street. And so yeah, friend schools. Yeah, and then I have another friend who I met in college who she went to a friend's school as well.
Yeah.
It's really like the Society of Friends. Like that's such a good branding for a religion.
I know, literally.
Just a bunch of friends. Like what?
Yeah.
I literally was like a Quaker this weekend by that.
I am constantly being a friend.
Literally. We're practicing Quakerism right now on this podcast.
Literally.
This podcast is ultimately about the power of friendship.
And to that, rock on. Quakers win, bro. Yeah. Are we Quaker now? But yeah, so I
also love their oats. Gotta say.
Yeah. Such good food, guys. A little bland, that's fine. But yeah, so I don't know. I kind of like need to read that book and like look into what his life was. But anyway, yeah, being online, I really like we all know my whole Tumblr phase and like 2014 and stuff. That's when I think I started like really getting into astrology. And I was like, oh, something about it just absolutely sent me into, I was like, this is so correct. This is so like, I know I believe in this. Whatever else I believe in, I don't know. I believe in this. And then I started to like, I don't know, kind of form my own thoughts. I looked into Wicca a lot. I have a lot of books on that. I had a lot of books on witchcraft. I don't consider myself like to be Wiccan.
You're definitely witchy.
I am a witchy person, and sometimes I do consider myself to be a baby witch. I am sort of magical. And I do love that.
I do believe that about you.
Anything. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's just proven time and time again to all the people closest to me as well. Yeah, I don't know. I think I feel the best in like any spiritual thought that like, I don't know, brings out personal and collective power instead of like collective, like, I don't know, like something
like shame.
Yes, shame,
like
or
kind of like a collective, like the you like to be empowered rather than like ashamed a little bit.
Yeah, or like
you don't want a religion to say there's something wrong with you that we can fix. You want to say there's something in you that we can all bring out together.
Exactly. Yeah. And like helping other, like I do obviously appreciate like that people, like religion has played a huge part in how a lot of people like have their morals are set or whatever. Some of them shaky, but some of them okay. But yeah, so like I don't know. I just I really resent when like it's sad to me when people have like shame or guilt like surrounding religion.
And so many people have like such intense religious trauma.
Yeah,
it's actually crazy. Like I was like whatever I thought I had, like I had like when I hear the things some people like went through in like their churches or whatever, like
it's crazy,
bro. Like that's crazy actually. Like it's no. And so I definitely agree with that though. And that's something that I really enjoyed about the way I was taught. And again, it's not the way everybody's taught Catholicism, but I was taught that like Christianity is ultimately about community and what we can all like bring out in each other, like when we're all together and stuff. And so I think I did enjoy that thing of like interconnectivity.
Yes, that is,
and that we're all connected to each other.
Yeah.
And but I think it's also helpful that I did have that sense of like morality before I went into it a little bit. And like I had a worldview.
Yeah, I was
a
gonna
little
say
bit before that.
like clear-headed. That's good. Yeah.
And so is that where you are kind of like currently?
Yeah, I consider myself to be like spiritual. That's like the label I would use. I do really not there's such like people have become more spiritual, especially lately with like media and everything, but I pretty much hate any spirituality that I see like now on social media because
it feels dumb to even say like I'm spiritual because it feels like it's become such like a
it's so whitewashed and like it's frustrating, obviously. Like I don't know, I don't subscribe to like the chakras or anything. Mostly because I don't know where that comes from. And I know it doesn't come from like TikTok. So like I don't know. I just see things like that and it's like upsetting. And I like I've read a lot about Wicca and like I would say that I don't know, I like respect a lot of things that are pagan and like can kind of draw the source of them and like understand it pretty well. So I would say that's like sort of a basis for my spirituality, but I don't really like label myself as like pagan.
I have that same thing around yoga, which to talk about my current spirituality, yoga is something I didn't even start of as like a spiritual thing, but has become a very spiritual thing for me because yoga, like it's hard because in the West, we think of yoga as like, you know, downward dog, all that kind of stuff. And that is a part of yoga. That's the asana, but yoga has 7 different branches. And I feel like you, Becca, and that like with like what you said about chakras and that I don't even know like the other. Well, I guess one's the pranayama, which is like the breath and stuff like that. But like there are
Mhm.
7 branches to yoga, and like the asana, which is like what we associate as yoga, is
Yeah.
one part of
Yeah.
yoga. And
Yeah.
ultimately, like yoga is a literal thousands-year-old tradition that originated in what we now consider India.
Mhm.
That started as a way to prep the body for meditation. Yoga means union, and so it's supposed to be the union of the mind and the body,
Mhm.
making it so they can come together as one and
Mhm.
help you and do all that kind of stuff. And so something I've really enjoyed about the yoga practice, and I really enjoy about yoga with Adriene in particular,
Mhm.
and why she's on the stand list in part, is because
Yeah.
she emphasizes that stuff, and
Yes.
she is in a culture where that's not emphasized. Because when I talk to my other friends about doing yoga, they're like, oh, like, yeah, I only like doing like hot yoga or like power yoga or like yoga lattes or like all this kind of like other stuff, or they're like yoga's too slow. And I'm like, then you just don't you don't get it.
Yeah. Or you're not finding the right.
Yeah, like
I
doing
don't know.
doing the intense stuff can be helpful sometimes, but like also it's also really helpful to just like sit
Sit
in child's pose for like 5 minutes.
or just sit actually with correct posture and
Yeah.
breathe correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, what a gift.
Yeah. And so like my friends will always be like, oh, you like yoga? Like you should try Pilates. And I'm like, well, yoga's like a tradition and like is like hundreds
Pilates
of years
is
old. Pilates was invented in the 80s by a man literally named Joe Pilates.
Are you
What?
lying again?
No. No,
His name was
that's
Joe
true.
Pilates.
I don't know if it's Joe, but his last name is Pilates, and that's why it's called Pilates.
That is crazy.
And Pilates literally just like stole so much from yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's like
Added
a
a
whitewashing.
machine.
Yeah, and so and like that's why it's like yoga lattes, power yoga, and it's like this lovely, like well-meaning white woman trying to like make me break a sweat or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
that's great and all, but I guess not, because you're perverting. It's a different form of cultural appropriation. It's definitely a form of cultural appropriation that's been more normalized.
Yeah.
And so that's one reason. And I talked to my friend about it because he was kind of talking about, he's like, I like Adriene, but she goes too slow and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, and she'll literally say in videos, she's like, I know you guys are always asking me for more intermediate practices and stuff like that. But she's like, are you connected to your breath when you do this?
Yeah.
She's like, that's really the intermediate part. Like, she's like, you can do whatever,
Literally.
but like the
Yeah.
real challenge is like staying connected to your breath. And in
Mhm.
that way, like even if like I'm not, I am more flexible when I started yoga, but like even if I'm not noticing like flexibility and stuff, I can notice that I'm staying connected in a way that I
Mhm.
wasn't always when I did yoga. Also something recent, like 2 times very recently, I've had like intense visions while doing yoga.
I'm saying I've been hallucinating more and more and more
Yeah.
in a good way.
Also, when I meditate, like I don't think this is supposed to happen. Like I don't think like Headspace wants me to be doing this, but I like go to different places when I meditate sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'll have like full visions
Yeah.
and like full like scenarios in my head will play out.
I love it. Oh shoot,
So,
I forgot to tell you about my dream. Okay, basically me and you were house sitting for one of our professors, Kelly. We were house sitting for her, but it was my dad's house. Same layout.
I
and
hate
everything.
that. I hate when that
Yeah.
happens.
I was like, ugh. So when I woke up, I was like, that's so boring of me. But anyway,
Literally.
but she had these doors that were glass and sliding. You like the below deck, the outside doors where you have to like push the button and they open.
Yeah.
And me and you were like trying to move a coffee table. I forget why.
We were playing Just Dance, probably.
Probably, yeah. So we were taking it through the door. I pushed the button where the coffee table's halfway through. The doors go and they break the table in half. These doors are so strong and they're made of glass. This is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, this is spooky vibes. Like, why did those doors just do that? And then like we we were trying to like hold the button, and like I was trying to like run through the doors to like get back to you, but then the doors kept smacking every like 2 seconds. So then me and you were just like, oh my God, this is like disaster movie vibes now. And we have to like survive this killer door. And then finally you like figured out how to like break the glass, I think with your elbow, but I don't know how you did it because your elbow must have been really strong.
I know.
I was like, thank God. And then unfortunately Kelly did make us pay for the door.
Kelly.
Yeah. And we were like, it tried to kill us. And she was like,
my goodness.
no. Yeah. So it's crazy.
Real life Kelly would understand, I think.
No, real life
she would
like,
understand.
guys, I'm so sorry. My door tried to kill you.
Guys, I'm so sorry about my door. It's never done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, that's such a weird thing when you're in a dream and you know you're in a certain place, but it just does not look like the real life version of that place at all.
Literally.
But like, you know, in your dream, you'll fully be like, I'm at my high school, and then it'll just look nothing like where I went to high school.
Exactly. One time
like, I'm here.
I was myself in a dream, but also I was Victoria Justice. But I knew that I was both. Like, it was weird. Anyway. So again, that's spiritual to me as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one last thing I'll say about my current journey with spirituality is I feel I felt very much, I didn't know I was kind of disconnected from it until I started doing, I feel like a weirdo whenever I talk about it, but Artist Way, because it's literally a spiritual path to higher creativity. That's what it's called. And so it's very much like Julia Cameron is always talking about God, all of it. And so, she talks about that, your creativity as a way to kind of connect to your spirituality, and creativity as ultimately being a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And I've been stepping into that a little bit more. And it's nice because it has connected me in a way where I feel like I have something that's like stable and that is kind of about myself, but also about others that I can tap into and be like, okay. And there was like, I remember one of the exercises one week was like what does God mean to you?
Oh, interesting.
And like I had to fully like it was when I challenged myself to do, because when she would talk about God, I would be like, oh, I don't really love using the term God, all that kind of stuff. And like I really challenged myself to sit down and say, okay, like in the today of things, like what is God to me? You know? And so that was kind of like what I was. And so yeah, it's interesting because like now I think like obviously I don't think everything happens for a reason.
Right.
But I do believe that there is a divine plan of goodness for me and everybody. I also don't believe in predestination though. So like the plan is more of like the universe works in a way where good things will happen if I allow them to.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
And that like if we open ourselves, good things can happen. And that like again, we can feel empowered in our own lives to like find the good. And again, I don't know if that's like still like privilege bullshit, but like you know, it's just something of how I'm trying to make sense of the world right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, because especially like, you know, I know we talked about this a couple times, but you know, it was obviously a dark couple years we're all coming off of. And
yeah,
even before like the pandemic of it all, like I was going through it a little bit. And so it was like a time in my life where I was like, is there anything out there? Because if there is, like, what the fuck?
Hello? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, to quote Ariana Grande, the universe has a plan. Sometimes it's a really fucking gnarly plan, but a plan nonetheless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on astrology, Becker?
Astrology, yeah.
Oh, no. I mean spirituality. I did also call somebody the wrong name this week.
No, Quinn.
I think it's just a thing I do. Like I think it's fully become a thing I do, because
it's crazy how you try to ignore it. And everyone's like, no.
I try to pretend like it's normal.
Yeah.
My Maddie, who her sister came out to her sister came out we went and did a wine tasting one day. And so luckily we weren't going to drive ourselves to the multiple wineries we went to and stuff. And so her sister drove like the hour from where they live at like their family home to the lake house to like drive us around for the day. So thank you to her. But I was like, oh, when is like, I forget how I said it, but I don't think I knew her name. So I just gave her a name. And so I was like, oh, when's like Jamie coming? And she's like, my sister's name is Chloe. And I fully met her.
That was crazy.
Like I've met her before. And I was like, and she literally like, we all like gave her a little bit of money, and she like Maddie requested me for it on Venmo, and the tag was Jamie is driving. But it's like I just get, and now I feel like it's become, I don't know if this was like what I was doing before, but I think it's become a thing where if I don't know the name of something, I'll just give it a name.
Well, keep doing it. It's really funny every time you do it, but I'm just bewildered by it. Like, you knowing me for 2 years, looking me in the eyes and calling me Becky.
That was like a mistake. I didn't forget your name.
I know, but you can't like say the wrong thing and think it's like not the same thing though. Like when you called Katie, I constantly forget Katie's real last name because I
had the same experience this week. I could not remember her real last name. I could not remember her real last name for the life of me. I thought about it for like 5 whole minutes. I was like, what is her real last name?
It's not Collins.
We have this friend Katie who I made friends with during my last semester of college because she was in a show with us. Or not me and Becca, but me and one of Becca and I's other friends. Or a couple of them. And so I
was involved in the show.
You were involved in the show.
Assistant scenic designer.
Exactly. And so her name was Katie. Her name's Katie Gibson.
Gibson.
Katie.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
out.
I knew somebody who I did theater with named Katie Collins. And so I just started calling her Katie Collins.
The first time was like, it was crazy. Like you were like, she was in the room, but like a few feet away from us. And you were like, and then Katie Collins. And we were like, who the hell is that? And you were like, oh, I just know a Katie Collins.
Yeah. And it became Katie Connell. Because like then it started to become a joke, and so we just started calling her Katie Connell. But her fully like Gibson and Collins and Connell are in no way connected to each other.
Not at all.
And so it's just something I do. What was the other time we talked about? I don't know. I also give people nicknames. I've started to realize.
Yeah, you do that.
Or I don't know if it's just Nan. It might just be Nan.
It's so easy to make nicknames for her.
I just call her whatever. I call her Dieter.
I call me Becca, so there's that.
Becca, Bex.
Yeah.
I sometimes get the urge to call you Bex for some reason.
And you're allowed to.
and you're allowed to. And so yeah. Oh, I call my friend Ian. Something I've started calling him is Yoni.
Why is that?
Because his name is spelled weird. So his name is spelled EION. And so
I always forget that.
We would kind of joke that like it looked like Yoin. And so we would like call him Yoin. And then I started calling him Yoni because Yoni is the Sanskrit word for vagina. Like one time I just started calling him Yoni because I thought it was funny.
Wow. One time
like Kueka. Like I just think it's funny to say. I think it's funny to say the wrong word.
You're fascinated by words.
Like I fully think, oh yes, very much.
Mispronunciation.
And I fully think it's funny to say the wrong, like I love saying the specific ocean. Like or like Pacifically. Like I love doing that. I think it's so funny.
Espresso.
Oh no, but that does that annoys me.
Annoying.
That annoys
That's
me.
really annoying.
No, not espresso. Yeah. That's never like annoying me. But when people say escape.
Escape
or especially. Ooh,
especially,
that grinds my gears. Actually, you can't do that. That's where there are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions to every rule, and that's mine. Actually,
that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Not sure about how we got from spirituality there, but
hey, God guided us.
Yeah, exactly. There's a divine plan, and Becca and I are fulfilling it. But yeah, so Becca and I are going to take another little break, and we'll be right back to get into our segments. my God. Pun intended. Spirituality. Love. Anyway, so Becca and I are back. So Becca does have an engagement she needs to get to. So no comment corner this week. We are sitting on one.
Yes, big one.
We're only sitting on one, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, guys, write in.
So we need y'all to write in. Come on. I really thought Kylie was gonna inspire the masses. Like she inspired all of us.
Exactly.
And I'm not placing this on Kylie at all, obviously. I think it's ultimately anyone who hasn't written in, it's your fault.
Kylie, you're a trailblazer.
Kylie, you're a trailblazer. You're an icon. You're a legend. You are the moment. Exactly. And so
I mean, now come on now.
And so write in. But yeah, we have a fun comment corner for next week. And it's going to be a big part of next week's show. Anyway, so we now get to the point of our program where we give our jump scares of the week. And so this was a moment in the past week that filled us with fear, abject horror.
Whoa.
And an abject horror can be delivered in many different ways and many different emotions.
Yeah.
And so Becca, what's one thing that scared you this week?
So I've brought up financial fear a lot, actually.
Oh, yeah.
One of my previous jump scares was actually learning about credit cards as a whole. And recently, I've had to do the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, which was physically write out the word. Sorry. Yeah, I had to physically write out the word budget.
Oh my God, I guessed it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you knew. It's just terrible. It's not something I want to do. I want to be able to spend my money any time, any place, anywhere with anything. And I want to waste it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just upsetting.
We there, not to bring it up again, but the Artist Way, there was a week where the main activity was you had to track every dollar you spent. Oh, my worst literal nightmare.
Yeah, I just never wanted.
And it was the week I went on vacation.
Oh boy, so many dollars to track.
It was set up against me almost, but anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, budgeting.
It sucks, but it's so adult.
Scary.
Scary. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, all right. What was scaring you?
She says perturbed. So something that scared me this week is obviously. So since I didn't have a phone, you might think that I might miss something. That's my main concern. No, my main concern is music. I can't listen to music when I want.
Oh yeah.
Because music is very important to me. My Spotify Wrapped is always crazy. I always do crazy numbers on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty much always constantly listening to something. It's something I've challenged myself to step out of a little bit this summer, but but yeah, I be listening. And so the fact that I didn't have music, I couldn't carry something around in my pocket that played music for me, very upsetting to me. Even more upsetting was the fact that I had to do a 5-hour drive from Pittsburgh to where I live in Delaware. No music of my own.
God. Wow.
And so innovation that excites, I was like, oh, but my car does have a CD player. And so what did I do? But I went to Target last night, had my friend drive me, and I bought 4 physical copies of music. I bought Beyonce's Renaissance, Taylor Swift's Folklore, and Taylor Swift's Evermore.
Wow.
And then I bought, now that's what I call Pride. Which had 15 Pride anthems on it, and it was a really good
I just met you
roster. I don't know if That's Call Me Maybe on it. It has Midnight Sky. It has Hot Stuff by Donna Summer. I'm Coming Out, Diana Ross. It was a really good mix. And so I was yeah, I'll buy this.
Yeah, sure.
And so I get into my car this morning, very early in the morning, because I wanted to get home and have a day to do shit. And so I get in my car. right next to where the CDs load. First of all, it says there are 6 CDs loaded in my CD changer. I know that's not true. I have 2 CDs in my car. One is an old version of Guys and Dolls. Another is Hannah Montana Volume 1 that I bought from a public library for $1.
Oh, wow.
Actually, my ex-boyfriend bought it for me
Legends.
for $1. So anyway.
Okay.
However, right next to where those like 6 little discs were loaded in on like the display, it said mech error.
No.
And so I hit eject. I know there are CDs in there. I hit eject. I hit load. Nothing would work. Like the whole, like the CD player in my car is broken, jammed, whatever. I don't really know. Terrible. It probably has something to do with my car battery dying. My car battery died like months ago, and then the radio was fucked up for a while, but then my friend Ian fixed it, thank God, because that would have been.
Remember that.
But yeah. So I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? I had a jump scare. But I literally forgot the radio was a thing.
Yeah.
Like I forgot my car had a radio.
Oh my God.
No, I was like, this is detrimental right now. Because I was
Did you drive in silence at all?
No, I just had the radio on.
Okay, good.
No, but I totally, before that moment, I forgot the radio was a thing. Like it never crossed my mind that my car had a radio. Could connect to like FM.
Crazy. Wow.
Listening to the radio is a jump scare in and of itself. I feel like it made me reflect a little bit about how I'm too like catered to a little bit with music, because like whenever a song came on I didn't like, I'm like changing the channel.
Yeah.
I'm like instant gratification. And then oh my God. Though. Literally, and when it starts to like break up,
like, girl, get it together. You have one job, and that's to make it to this vehicle.
Literally. And then like the radio was kind of a serve, because I would hear like certain songs where I was like I heard Ray of Light by Madonna. I heard it was Madonna's birthday today, so there was like, I feel like radio stations were playing a lot of Madonna, but like I heard Ray of Light, or not Ray of Light. I heard Borderline. I heard Holiday. And I forget what the other one was, but I heard like, oh no, Lucky Star.
Oh.
So I heard like some good songs. But then sometimes you would hear a good song and it would just be like I was like Crocodile Rock by Elton John came on, and I was like, so why am I the only one popping my pussy right now? But then it got so broken up that I couldn't even enjoy the song. So broken up to the point where another signal started coming through.
Terrible. That's also because like, who invited you here?
Who invited you here?
I don't understand the radio.
And then sometimes the radio, it's crazy how it works actually, because like sometimes you'll there's like a video of like some like Gen Xer being like, Gen Zers describing the radio. And so like sometimes you'll pass different radio channels and they'll be playing the same program on 2 channels.
Oh, what the hell?
And what's up with that? Okay, this was terrifying a little bit. Glenn Beck, who's like a conservative political commentator, I came past his show. He's talking about gender ideology, and it's on literally like 2 channels. I'm like, so I can't even escape this?
Dang.
What is going on here? Anyway.
It's just too bad.
So yeah, my jump scare was that whole, but it ended up being fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
And so yeah, and so now we come to our manic pixie moments of the week. So this is the moment where we just felt like, oh my God, like a main character, and like, I don't know, like we could just do literally anything, conquer the world. The whole world was literally made for us. Yeah. A screenwriter in LA worked very hard on the world that we inhabit. And so, Becca, what was that moment for you this week?
So, as you may have recently heard, I was promoted at my job.
Yes.
And I was like, what does this call for? And usually I'm a tote bag girl. This is true about me. I did buy a structured purse. And I feel like such an adult.
Purses are the
budget and my purse that fits a lot of things.
And you had to write the purse down in the budget.
I did.
Yeah.
So, hey, there's that. But Nordstrom Rack hooked it up. She did hook it up. So it was pretty cheap. And it's, again, like, it's like, wow, I can set this down and all my things can stay the position that I want them to in the bag. Unlike a tote bag where things get jumbled.
Yeah.
So that I really respect her for.
Purses are such a slay. I love purses.
Yeah.
I've started like picking up ones I like.
Yeah.
They're such a slay.
I love a good bag. I need
Yeah.
a bag with me at all times. Actually, it's
Yeah, I did.
me.
I did also think about proposing an ad to the stand list today, because also when I was moving, I don't know how people move with boxes, because bags.
Yeah, they
Like
have
those
handles,
big ass
guys.
bags.
Literally.
You can fit everything in them.
When GoPuff came to Starbucks and
they had
the GoPuff bag,
yes,
they're so big. I love it.
I used one to move.
Yeah, it's the best.
I put 2 other bags in it, like full of books. Yeah.
No, literally, it's the best. I
love reusable
bags. Bags. Thank you.
A stand list laureate. Is that what they're called when they're like closed?
I think so.
The board of review is looking at them intensely.
Yeah. Expect updates soon.
Breaking news. Yeah. Reusable bags is a category.
Bags. Purses, bags, love it.
Yeah.
So what was your Manic Pixie moment of the week?
My Manic Pixie moment of the week, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I overshare a little bit on this podcast, but I think I'm going to continue with that today, because I did something for the first time at the lake.
You peed.
Yeah, it was my first time. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Everybody's always like, oh my God, I had to go pee. And I'm like, I can't relate to that, actually. I can't. I just take massive poops.
Watery.
My cloaca. I have a cloaca, actually. So it's all one thing, really.
Oh my God.
It all comes back. No, but me and my friends went skinny dipping.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Was it liberating?
Yes, it was. Very much. Very much. Yeah. I don't know. I'm getting that point in my life, and maybe this is also a spiritual thing, where I'm just like, nobody cares about anything, really.
Yeah.
And just do literally whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Nothing matters. It's like we all spend so much time like thinking about our bodies, and like, what do people think about my body? And it's like, literally nobody cares. And like that was the thing. It's like we were all like, we went out, like we obviously went out at night and did it, because like we weren't gonna be like naked in broad daylight where like people can come by and stuff. And so we like went out at night and we you know, and we were under the cover of darkness and stuff like that. And so you know, there was that added layer to it, but it was like, I don't know, it's obviously like scary before you do it, and then it's like you do it, you're doing it, and you realize you're like, oh, no one's looking at me because I'm not looking at anybody else. You know, true. Like I'm not like nobody's concerned about what I look like, because I'm not concerned about what anybody else here looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we're all just 5 friends having a fun time together doing this like thing. And so
I've always
it was fun.
To do it. I never have. My grandma is always trying to get us to do it. The whole family at her pool.
My aunt's always trying to get us to do it.
It's like, girl.
My aunt always gets naked and swims around, or just does anything naked.
Oh wow.
And so that's a story for another podcast, but or many stories for another podcast, actually. Many other podcasts, but so got to do a little skinny dip. I don't know, it felt just skinny dipping with my friends felt like a Manic Pixie moment, like we were in a movie.
Very, very, cinematic for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
And so but Becca, we've done it again. Oh my God.
Yet again, literally.
Yeah. So where can people keep up with you, Becca?
They can follow me on Instagram at Becca Hobart, Twitter, Bex Gloss, and TikTok, where I'll go and join World War III. They can also find me at the bottom of the lake.
About to snatch my phone.
Photos of me, at least. Quinn, where can the people keep up with you individually?
You can find me on Instagram at Quinn P. Murphy and TikTok at Quinn P. Murphy. And you can find me on Twitter at Quinn P. Murphy _. Not super active on there right now because I don't have a phone. There's one thing you learn from this podcast, that I don't have a phone. And so and you can find me making friends with the Lake Kuka monster. Or Lake Kuka. I literally just said it wrong again.
Kuka.
Anyway, you can also find me
Kuka.
not enjoying white wine. That's something.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
sweet wines. My mother raised me to be a dry red girl. Anyway, Becca, where can people keep up with the show?
They can follow Manic Pixie Jump Scare on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, where we post the podcast at large and also exclusive content over there. So subscribe if you haven't already. And well, don't worry about this past episode.
Yeah. Also did want to publicly apologize. Last episode, as of this moment we're recording, is not uploaded to YouTube. It will be by the time you're hearing this, but it will also have been late. Guys.
It's okay.
Guys.
There's a phone at the bottom of the lake.
Literally.
Has to be.
And the podcast was already late. But yeah. When you're moving out of an apartment and your Wi-Fi gets disconnected, it becomes a scary place.
Tough.
And
it's really tough.
And so yeah, you will have the video episode of us talking to Lauren, which I know you all want, and I so badly want you to all have it. So you will have that very soon. And sorry, but again, Becca and I, it's a 2-person operation.
Yeah. So, and then also please email us at manicpixiejumpscare@gmail.com.
Literally,
guys.
My mom, can I tell you? I told my mom I was going to record the podcast, and right before she was like, "Okay, I love the last episode, but try to say literally less."
Oh.
And I was like, I'll actually continue saying what I want. Thank you.
Physically, I cannot say
I can't.
literally. Yeah.
Literally.
Literally.
Anyway,
Literally.
That one's for you, Mom. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
we're Quinn. And
we're Becca.
And thank you for listening. I am the lady of the lake. I will take your phone.
Manic Pixie Jump Scare is hosted by Quinn Murphy
and Becca Hobart. Executive produced by Quinn Murphy and Becca Hobart.
Sound and video editing by Quinn Murphy.
Social media management and highlights by Becca Hobart.
And our theme song was written by Quinn Murphy, Becca Hobart, and Nandita Mahesh.